Badlands. Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey.
Are you ready? For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to Bitcoin.
That's a nickname in its own way, but we came up with a new couple of words for corn.
Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up.
Can you quickly tell everybody what a rug pull is?
Bitcoin stands for freedom, sovereignty, and independence from government, coercion, and control.
Yo, Shadalay, my lovely frogs. How are we doing out there? Welcome back, Rugpull Radio. What are we, May 22nd? Are we at Bitcoin Pizza Day? Happy Bitcoin Pizza Day. Happy 111,000 price tag, right? We got back up. We're mooning. And like, I don't know about you guys, but we just keep winning, you know?
Win with every single facet. We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
And absolutely, we are going to win more. Are any of you guys tired of winning? I know I'm not. But no, happy Bitcoin Pizza Day. Shout out to Laszlo. You know, this is a day he paid 10,000 Bitcoins for a couple of pizzas, for two of them, back in May 18th. Well, that's when he made the offer in 2010. But come to find out, he actually spent 40,000 Bitcoins, because even though that was a first transaction, he did a couple others apparently as well. So 40,000 Bitcoins. But hey, look, that was one of the first transactions on Bitcoin, and it's forever history. And so hopefully you guys are enjoying some lovely pizza, and you're enjoying the triple digits, and you're enjoying dunking on your metalhead Q-tard freaks. And so I'm here to help rub it in. And we're going to have some fun today. But that amount of Bitcoin, 10,000 Bitcoin would be worth 1.11 billion right now, times 4. So you've been 4 billions because he's actually ended up selling 40,000 Bitcoin for pizza. So there you go. But we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for gentlemen like that starting the revolution. And so, I'm reflecting on some things. Parts of our community are picking up on some things. And Burning Bright, he nailed this. And he talks about the Q drops. And he says, look, the Q drops had a stated goal of activating a citizen intel network for the purposes of projecting the future and front-running it. They were not intended to paralyze Anons from trying to figure things out in an active manner instead of waiting for permission. Military-civilian alliance, right? And I responded with, welcome to the counterinsurgency, right? Never been attempted. The use of public to counter the narrative. And also we have the U.S. Counterinsurgency Guide, right? A comprehensive civilian and military effort to simultaneously control and defeat insurgency. And so, you guys know all about that. But the funny thing is, like, the Anons are just like loving their rugs, right? The 2025 rugs look just like the 2020 rugs. You've got no Fort Knox. You've got the Doge like exposure, but not really kind of going all the way. You've got the Epstein Island rug. You've got, all these rugs. You've got the COVID rug. Fauci's still running around. And they're like, you know what? It's going to happen. Any day now, it's going to happen. Instead of actually like projecting power yourself and starting to hold these people accountable. By self-custodying Bitcoin, you are holding the establishment, right? The bureaucracy, the political class, you are putting their feet to the fire and saying, I am no longer contributing to this fraud, theft, and abuse, right? You are saying, I'm done with your abuse, right? And it's a beautiful thing because we can now project power. We can now, inflict severe physical costs on them to continue this exploitation. And the Anons are just not getting it, though, like a lot of them, right? Bitcoiners are slaying the enemy, building a digital fortress that shits on central bank tyranny. The Q-tards, they're still jerking off to trust the plan nonsense, chasing dumbass decodes and fake arrests. Get a grip, clowns. We're owning the future. Join or eat dirt. That's what it is, man. And it's funny that they can't figure it out. But Gtopia is here. Coin, Covfefe, and Cope. And we are bringing it straight to Vegas, baby. We're coming to Vegas. We'll be there next week on Tuesday. If you guys don't have your tickets yet, there's still time. Okay. I don't know if this is showing or not, but use code Pepe. You get 10% off. We'll be on the Genesis stage at 1 p.m. And it should be a good group of characters. We got Eric Kaysen, who's been on the show, CJ Constantinos, who's been on the show, Nico from Simply Bitcoin, who's been on the show. So just a total all-star cast of badass revolutionaries that are going to discuss Bitcoin as Digital 1776. Now, it will be streamed live as well. So don't you fret. That will be coming to you live. And then the doc's going to be on the ground. He's got a fucking package for you with some D's nuts, some Softwar Pepes, some stuff that he put together on his 3D printer. He's really going ham on that 3D printer. But I want to play one more clip because this is like the essence of it, right? Like it's starting to seep into the mainstream of like, hey, why don't we just like figure this out ourselves? Why do we keep asking for permission? Like, what if we all got together and just did like a silent protest of just non-compliance? He's talking to the cuck Dave Ramsey, the boomer idiot. But let's have a listen to what Tucker said.
And so I've often thought if I were to retire, maybe I would start a political movement, a new party in the country where the whole purpose is to bring the banks to their knees and shut them down. or just you encourage everyone who's deep in debt to stop payment? How about 100 million people stop paying their car loans, their mortgages, and their credit cards? In the same way that Donald Trump once said, if you take a big enough loan from the bank,
it's their problem.
It's their problem. You're kind of in charge of the bank at that point. I would think it'd be kind of cool to do a crush the banks political party where you just all of a sudden everyone stops payment at once. And then, then you sit down with Jamie Dimon and renegotiate. Yeah. What about that? I kind of like that.
I would rather punish them incrementally and just let.
Yeah. Why don't we force them to the negotiating table? Why do we keep groveling on our hands and feet to please stop exploiting me, right? No, this is about us forcing them to the negotiating table. Why do we always have to come to the table? No, right? Our offer is 0.0. We're here for GoFundMe Bro Government and nothing less, right? We will accept nothing less but full voluntary association. And look, we're willing to pay for it, but on our terms, not on yours. No longer. It's gone way too far. Way too far. We're done with that shit. But Dave Ramsey doesn't get it because he's a boomer who stole all the wealth from his kids and his grandkids, right? He stole it. And so, well, he didn't do enough to stop it. And so let's get into the ad real quick. We've got our boy from My Pillow. And as you know, our friend Mike Lindell has a passion to help everyone get the best sleep of your life. He didn't stop by simply creating the best pillow. Mike created the best bed sheets ever. They look and feel great, which means an even better night's sleep for me, which is crucial for my busy schedule. Mike is offering the best deal on his Giza Dreams bed sheets. Any size and any color, just $49.98. That's right. You can even get queens, kings, split kings, and cow kings. Any size, any color for just $49.98. Order now because when they're gone, they're gone. Also, for a limited time, when your order is over $100, you will receive $100 in free digital gifts. Call 1-800-795-5154. Use promo code Badlands or go to mypillow.com. Make sure you use the promo code Badlands for the amazing offer of $49.98 on the Giza Dreams sheets, any size and any color. That number again, 1-800-795-5154, promo code Badlands. I must say, I was sleeping on a My Pillow the other night, and it's actually pretty amazing. Pretty cool. Pretty good pillow. Also, if you guys are interested in any kind of help with self-custodial Bitcoin and becoming a digital soldier in the truest sense, come check out inthebankers.com or come check us out on Telegram. And so let's get started with today's Dasting Dig. We have a homie, an OG from the chats, from the Chans, and let's bring him on stage. Mr. Luke, what is going on, my brother?
Hey, how's it going? It's good to be here, man. It's been, we've been posting these digs up here and there, and I think there's something to it. So I'm excited to walk through it with everybody. And
yeah, man, my brain is just fried from the last 7 years of all this crap. And then I got the rug pull at Trump. And so I had time and I was obviously motivated and went down the whole Pepe rabbit hole. And after that though, man, my brain is kind of it's kind of done, I don't have the energy or the motivation to go digging through stuff again like I did for 7 years. And that's why I love when new people come into the scene because they find all these extra angles that I just don't have the patience for, man. So give us your origin story. How did you find Q? How did you find Bitcoin? And how did you find the frogs? Because I believe you came in through the Telegram chat. And you guys aren't on the Telegram chat. You guys should check it out. That's where all the fun goes down. That's where all the digs go down. That's where I met Luke and a bunch of the other frogs. And so give us the skinny, bro. How did you come to be?
Yeah, so it's kind of, I guess, a culmination of just trying to figure out what is going on in this world, and I started with Trump. He was kind of the first one. I guess before that, I kind of made a conscious decision that hey, things are not right. We're in all these wars, we're sending money everywhere. None of this makes sense. And, Trump came on the scene and immediately he kind of struck a chord with me. He was talking about the things that nobody else was talking about. I kind of had this image in my head of, the United States was a ship and we're sinking. And, the left is arguing about what bathrooms everyone should use on the ship. And the right is, arguing about, we shouldn't be, whatever they're arguing about. And then here Trump comes along and he's like, hey, we should patch this hole. This hole is letting all the water in. We should fix that. And then maybe we can talk about those things. And, maybe we should fix the fuel supply. And so it just kind of made sense to me. And for a long time, I followed Trump. I was watching a rally. I noticed a bunch of Q signs and, I thought, what is this stuff? And, I already given up on the mainstream media a long time ago. So I got into the Q, got into the Q influencers. That was about 2018. So it was a year into it. So I had a little catching up to do. But I just, it made more sense than what the media was telling us. It made, people started connecting these dots, and Q was posting, things that just couldn't be a random LARPer. So, that kind of stuck with me. The 2020 election, COVID, that hit hard, got the rug pull, and I was kind of dejected and kind of giving up hope. I went through, with COVID, with my son going to school. He was 5 years old. It was my first kid going to school. And I sent him to a public school so that he could get speech therapy. So, they forced him to wear a mask. And, I fought it through the principal, through the school board, through the, all the way up to the governor, making all the phone calls. I went into, a school board meeting and I realized that they had it rigged against me. They, with COVID rules, they only let so many people in the room. I had to wait through the 2-hour meeting to have, 3 minutes to talk. And they weren't even allowed to respond to me. They were streaming the whole event, but of course they cut the stream before the the citizens got up to speak. So I just got sick of the rug pulls, and that's when I guess I heard about devolution, and that was interesting to me. That was kind of my holding on to hope that this election was stolen, and I do think that devolution happened.
Right.
It never came public. But John's Badlands came on. It happened to be at a time where we were really busy at work. I had all these orders to fill, and I was bringing my work home and working in the garage, getting things ready. And I was just consuming all the podcasts, and I watched CanCon, and then I this Bitcoin guy came on after, and I had tried, I tried for years to understand Bitcoin, and I heard about it. One of my friends was mining in his apartment. I think that was back in 2014, and I was curious, but I just didn't see the point. Nobody ever described the point of it. And then you came along, and I realized that we can't fix the system within the system, as you always say, after going through all that stuff with COVID, and it just made sense. How do we defeat this enemy? We defund them, and that's what Bitcoin's for. So that really clicked with me. I think the opening song, I think that's really what got me. That got me pumped up, and I started.
Out of all the hours of work, it was the opening song, you guys. Nothing else.
It was. I remembered I was sitting in my garage, doing this tedious work, and tired and dirty and sweaty, and the song came on, got me all pumped up. And you and Patriots in Progress, who I hope we get him back sometime soon. I miss having him on the show, but you just made it make sense. And after that, I just went down the rabbit hole. I did my probably 1,000 hours or whatever it is. The Bitcoin Standard, the Sailor Breedlove series, and all the classics. So I
awesome.
just
it's a journey, guys.
Down.
It's a journey to get here. Like in finding the signal. Some people found us through We the Media. Some people find us through Badlands. But like eventually it's kind of like I always call it the end of the rabbit hole. You know, once you're done with the politics, once you're done with the corruption, you're like, I'm done with this shit. Like, what's the point? You know, you're like, get me off this treadmill. I'm no longer want to play this game. And, you know, I think that's a thing where, you know, people have to realize, you know, like you are meaningless in this. You're a cog in this machine that's not going to make any difference in the current state of things, right? Like, you know, like you said, you know, the liberals are arguing about, you know, how to arrange the deck chairs, and the Republicans are arguing about what food at the buffet. And meanwhile, the whole ship's, you know, going down. And so I like that. And so guys, if you're not following Luke, go follow him on X at Luke Danielsan. He must have some Karate Kid story for us.
Just a fan.
Just okay. But Karate Kid is a KK. It's an 1111. And so I'll give you that. But today we're going to be talking about the 780th Military Intelligence Brigade Cyber 780th C, the official Twitter page of the 780th Military Brigade, the Army's only offensive cyberspace operations brigade. Following retweets and links does not equal endorsement. So shout out to the 780th if you guys are watching us tonight, because we are digging into some crumbs that you guys left behind, probably on purpose. And, you know, we're going to find out what maybe that was. And so do you have some special, like when you were doing all your key research, when you were like, you know, following this stuff, was there some like special attachment to the 780th? Like, how did you find the 780th to begin with?
So they found me. So
they found you.
Yeah. I'm here in my warehouse right now. My home's too crazy. I had to get out of there for this. So they bought some products from me, and somebody, you know, from the 780th, they called my business line, and I talked to them. And you know, being a Q, you know, pretty deep down the Q rabbit hole at that point, military intelligence, you know, immediately raised some flags. And so as soon as we got off the phone, I went to their website and just, you know, kind of started combing through it, and a few things jumped out. And, you know, that's what I'm going to share with you guys today. You know, I don't know. Are we crazy, G, or you know, are all these coincidences?
Like some like quirk of fate? I don't know, man. That's pretty weird, to be honest.
Yeah. So we'll see what everyone thinks.
I love that. And so you actually tweeted some stuff. They actually responded. We'll get into that, but let's go ahead and put your screen on the stage. And so let's talk about the 780th Military Intelligence Brigade. All right, start us off with this thing and like let us know how, like, where it starts.
Yeah, so like I said, you know, I got on their website, and I just started clicking through it, and, you know, looking at the sorry, this is slow because it's on the Wayback Machine. They recently changed. So just looking through some of these, you know, a couple things caught my attention with the cyberspace operations, and because I'd already been, you know, following you guys, and I think it's here in the history. Their history stems from the network warfare task force. So, you know, raising software war flags for me, just major, you know, it was just striking some chords. And I started digging in, and I'm like, what is this website anyways? Because most other military websites were all like under one Insicom.
But they were done a little bit more professionally. This almost looks like a MySpace page.
Right.
Sorry, so, 780th. You guys are the web guys, and you guys have like a MySpace page? It's probably like a ruse, I would imagine.
Right. So I started digging in, and I found the background image. It was kind of hard to get to, but I found the background image, and, you know, lo and behold, you know, right here, it looks like there's a 78Q.
Right.
You know that.
Right.
And you know, there's some other interesting things with the key and the lightning bolt and the arrow, and we can get into that. And so, you know, once I saw that Q, you know, that kind of sent me deeper down the rabbit hole. I started going to the Q drops and typing in keywords. The first one I typed in was key, because I remember, you know, key from the Q drops came up a lot. So I went there, and I think, let me pull up some of my slides that I pulled out here.
Everywhere and always means they're probably watching.
Probably. Yeah, so I kind of zoomed in on it here. You can see 78Q. I mean, it looks like a Q to me. So and on December 12th, this was in reference to, I think, like a Christmas video that was posted by Trump.
It was a stocking, and somebody like had a Q. I think put a little tail on an O in one of the like Christmas stockings or something.
Right. So they say confirmed, O made into Q, more to find over time, happy hunting. So to me, that kind of says that, hey, like, the boards are not the only place to find some of these proofs.
Right.
So, and then also digging in a little bit more, I remembered that Q said that this had been planned for 3 years. So Q drop 520. They say future proves past, nothing is a coincidence, the map is the key, planned for 3 years, corruption, everywhere, everywhere. Yeah, so
I think some of those drops have like certain messages weaved in them, and then they have just random information after it just to kind of throw people off, is my opinion as well.
Right.
Like some of the drops have like maybe 1 or 2 lines that make a lot of sense, and the rest is just like, well, that's weird, and so I think there's some subterfuge in some of those drops for sure.
So so I went back to the Wayback Machine, and I thought, when did this image come about in the background? And sure enough, there's kind of a gap in recording, but 3 years before the first Q drop would have been October 2014. So in February 2014, it looked like this, and it was part of the INSACOM, website.
And the INSCOM logo was posted on the keyboards. It
was, yeah.
Okay, so is INSCOM like the higher like archy of like the top of 780th? Like they report to INSCOM?
Yes, yeah, okay. I believe so. I'm not an expert. I'm just some guy that in my 1% of free time, I kind of get into these things. And
INSCOM is intelligence, correct? Like military intelligence?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe it's I forget what it stands for, but it's communications and intelligence and those types of things.
U.S. Army Intelligence and Security Command. So yeah. And look, they're talking about projecting power through cyberspace. They're talking about all these different things, cyberspace operations. And so look, I'm sure there's a lot more involved in it, but this is hitting very closely to Bitcoin in multiple ways.
Right. Yep. So and here's the INSACOM badge.
Yeah. Can you zoom in on that? And what does it say? Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah. INSACOM logo right there. What's the date on that one?
So this one, August 16th, 2018. Okay. So, and we're just kind of going through this together. G and I haven't gone through these before, and so anything that pops out at you, feel free to speak up. But to me, what popped out to me on this one is NSA INSCOM Bridge. So 780th is headquartered at Fort Meade, which is also the headquarter of NSA.
Interesting.
I believe,
and we all know SHA-256, right, is NSA technology. But also, like, look, guys, we believe this is a military civilian alliance. And like Bitcoin just didn't sprout out of everywhere. Like there had to be people that influence this stuff, whether it was through hash power to protect the network, whether it was nodes being spun up, right? All these different things in support of the network, whether the military in the background was running their own hardware, as civilians or whatever they were doing. I believe, whether they're talking to, Bitcoin core engineers, whether they're battling to protect Bitcoin core engineers, like whatever's going on in the background, we're not gonna have any of that information, right? All we know is Bitcoin has survived, but it didn't survive by any small feat, by any chance or coincidence, right? This wasn't some guy in his basement just like making up like internet money for fun, in essence. This is a very serious military planned operation that nobody really knew about, right? Like they didn't come out and tell everybody.
Right. And I'm trying to pull up this post. I realize I don't have it in here, which is kind of the one of the key posts here.
Which one?
Q post 11 had some direct hits with the brigade. So I got to get this one pulled up.
Q post 11 made on October 29th. There's an 1111 in there. Key equals military intelligence versus FBI, CIA, NSA. No approval or congressional oversight. State secrets upheld under Supreme Court. Who is the commander and chief of the military? Under what article can the president impose military takeover investigation for the three-letter agencies? What conditions must be present itself? Why is this so very important? Who surrounds POTUS? They lost this very important power. The one area of the government not corrupt and directly serves POTUS. There's a lot of 11s in there. And you know how we talk about the Covfefe stuff? The 11s seem to give us some signal.
Yeah, so I got the slide pulled up that I didn't have in here. And with that, the timestamp is almost an exact hit to the date.
Oh, wow.
Only,
You're right.
One, there's a 0 in this one. There's not in that one. Other than that, it's dead on. So that was big to me. We got 11th, the 11th Cyber Battalion, post 11. We got the key, they have a key in their logo. And then, military intelligence versus the three-letter agencies. And under what article can the president impose military takeover for the investigations? So, and I don't know about this, just spitballing here, but, we talk about this going back to JFK days. And if the CIA was complicit in murdering a president, assassinating a president, I think that would give, authority, the military, the authority to, start spying on them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that stuck out to me. And then,
but you've got that October 1st, 2011 is funny because it is like that 1111, right? So the 11s and the essence of the JFK Executive Order 1111. And we talk about this goes back to the JFK days. Like we're being serious, right? It goes back to 1969, you guys. Like this plan has been in the works for such a long time, and we're just scraping the surface. Like we have no idea or any inside knowledge. You can just kind of see some of the comms out there that we're trying to pick up, on the frequencies of, because they're definitely leaving some trace of something. Whether we're right or not, who knows, right?
Right. And on that point, we know that there's a storm coming. We know that the fiat system is imploding. And, you can look at just the statistics out there. It's like seeing a hurricane coming on the radar. This stuff, it doesn't really matter. I think it can give you some conviction. It helped me get some conviction and it kind of keeps your spirits up. Knowing that there's a plan and good people out there, it's not so depressing. Because I know a lot of people that are depressed.
A lot of doomers out there for sure. But and so each of these different divisions have like little like code names, like the Praetorians, right?
Yep. So I got a slide on that. But before we leave this one, just kind of the timelines, because I guess kind of the whole primary argument of this thesis is that maybe Satoshi and maybe Q, maybe they were both headquartered in the 780th Military Brigade. So, looking at the timeline, we got 2008, the Army Network Warfare Battalion. Later they became part of the 780th, but 2008 and 2009 pop up a lot. And, that's right in the time where Satoshi came around.
So you're saying you don't only think maybe Satoshi was maybe part of this, but also Q, which makes sense. To some degree, if you're trying to operate in cyberspace and your primary weapon is the computer and you're literally, right, assigning millions of people worldwide to help in this information war, it makes sense.
Right. Two different parts to the same plan. You got to get people in the mindset where they're able to absorb this because, most people aren't. And I don't really talk about this to my friends and family just because they're not really in the mindset, and it's hard to penetrate that. So I think the Q part of the plan is kind of warming us up to that mindset, and then the real kind of force behind it is the Bitcoin network, and that's our tool to defund. How can we ever defeat an enemy with a money printer? They can raise any armory, they can fund any agenda. It's got to be defunded.
Absolutely.
So I think that's pretty much most of the Q. I guess there's a couple more, but let's look at some of the other stuff in here. So some of the symbolism involved, this is their logo now. We have the key, the lightning bolt, and the arrow, and they have their official description of what it means. The arrow symbolizes readiness, the lightning bolt denotes swiftness, and the key conveys security of knowledge and truth. So, my kind of interpretation is a key is like a cryptographic key, and a lightning bolt is maybe like some energy, like energy intensive mining. And the arrow could represent the arrow of time, which is something I picked up from Jack Mahler's speech, I think in maybe Bitcoin Prague or one of them, where he was talking about how the arrow of time represents, irreversible nature of time. It goes one way, there's a sequence of events, and that's what the blockchain is too. It's irreversible.
And that insignia looks like a clock, right? It looks like it's you got the two hands, right? And it looks like a clock.
And that's something I didn't pick up on. And that's a good point. They do mention in here, I think the disk allude to continuous intelligence. So that does kind of allude to time. The shield with the mesh background, that's like the network that is defending us.
Yep.
So
it reminds me, it reminds me of the hands at like the 10 and 2, where the Mickey Mouse watch was, almost. It reminds me of the hands at the 10 and 2, kind of. Now I'm not sure what the other ones, the other ones, maybe a 4 and an 8. But if you get 10 and 2 and 4 and 8, that's 12-12, by the way, right? 10 and 2, 4 and 8. You get the 12-12 symbology of the numbers. If those hands are pointing at 12 up and down, 12 and 6, then you get 12-12 with 8 and 4, 10 and 2, right? Because the hands are 10 and 2. The other ones are probably 8 and 4. Anyways, see, this is how my brain works, right? It's like, holy shit, maybe there is something here.
12-12 has been coming up a lot lately for me.
Well, 12-12 is where they have gold destroys the Fed. 12-12 is an important number. 12-12 is 12 seed phrase, or 24 seed phrase. It's also 21-21. And 21-21 is 42. The magic, the secret to the universe. So you get all these different like combinations out of 12-12. But that was the date that Q asked about. Would gold destroy the Fed? And the Q-tards think, of course, it was literally gold, which we know that's completely not going to happen.
So this next one is the Cyber Legion, the 782nd, and they have this, cryptographic string on here, which somebody in the Telegram, we got a Telegram channel where we just kind of dig this stuff. Somebody actually decoded that to be an MD5 hash of 782 Military Intelligence Battalion.
Where did you get that hash from? Was that hash on the sword?
Yeah, it's this hash, and somebody in the channel.
Probably N.
No, I think N verified it. Verified it.
Okay. Someone else.
So, but really, what stuck out to me more on this one is the Silence Victoria, the silent victory, and one of the things that stuck out to me early on with your show was the block by block without firing a shot. So we don't have to, it's a silent victory. We don't have to take up arms, and we don't have to kill anyone with this revolution. So that kind of spoke to me on that. And
silent victory is soft war in its true essence, right? I mean,
yeah, yep. That's a key part of the thesis. So this is another interesting one. So this is, I believe, one of their older emblems, and it has this cipher on it, and it has, a string below it, which I have not decoded yet. But the cipher stuck out to me, like, what is this? I started looking it up, and I found, that this cipher that matched it. So this is a Union cipher. It's called the AJM for the person that invented it. And the thing about the one in the 780th is that it's missing 88. So you can see here, the order's the same on all the numbers and all the letters, but we got 18, 88, and 8, and this one just goes.
Yeah, this is an old school tool they used to
81.
cryptographically send messages. Like the military had to communicate during the Civil War, right? This is during the Civil War, right? And the best way to make sure the enemy did not intercept your plans was to use some kind of cryptic messaging. And so this is what they used back then. Now, funny enough, if you look at the actual, the actual insignia there, right? The emblem, those waves are like sine waves, right? They're analog signals, and you see the analog signals transitioning to digital, which is pretty cool, right? So you see like a transition from analog kinetic to digital, and you see the key in the middle is kind of blending that transition, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, I think Pip was talking about that one. I thought that's something that I didn't catch either, and that's why it's great to get this out here and get more people looking at it and thinking about it. So one more thing with this, a Q drop here where it says.
Can you zoom in a little bit? It's a little blurry. There you go.
So it says missing critical items. Graphic is key, ordering is critical. So, it's missing the 88. The graphic is a key or maybe a cryptographic key, and the ordering is critical. So, I kind of think that this might be used to decode something. And, like you were saying, the military has been using, cryptography and different ways to send messages without them being intercepted. And, with the civilian military alliance, maybe there's a way that they need to communicate with us that, certain minds are going to pick up on, and, everybody else is just going to go unnoticed. So,
well, I mean, to begin with, Bitcoin is a communication system, at its bare bones before it was turned into something of financial value. Like, you could send messages cryptographically that nobody could hack. And that's what's funny is if you had a plan, right, to basically operate without the enemy knowing you were operating, first thing you would need is a communication system, an unfuckwithable communication system. And funny enough, right, you happen to get a communication system built out of cryptography through the Bitcoin network, right? And what was the Covfefe bill? The Covfefe bill was about digital communications, electronic communications. And I think all of this kind of is almost like in your face, tongue in cheek to them, because they couldn't obviously decipher the encrypted messages, right? Well, we know what happened when we broke the Enigma machine, right? We actually were able to intercept the enemy's plans to where we could, obviously counter them. And so, yeah, it's all super interesting.
So, and I'm just going to keep pulling these up and just go through them, and
let's keep going.
So the Praetorians, like you brought up. So what's interesting about the Praetorians is they were the Praetorian Guard was the elite hand-selected soldiers for the Roman Emperor. And, I did some reading up on them, and they're intelligence agents. And they also, this is kind of getting into a devolution hit potentially. And this article over here, this is from the 780th magazine. It's called The Bite. And I got a couple, all of these next couple are all going to be from The Bite. So I kind of started going through them, but it says the Praetorian Guard became notable for its intrigue and its interference in Roman politics. So, doing some other reading, I found that the Praetorian Guard intervened in the imperial succession to name the new Caesar. So it was a political decision that they made, and the unarmed Senate accepted. That sounds like devolution to me. Maybe that,
There was
Biden.
a CIC, right? Command and control operations happening behind the scenes that, the politicians had no idea of or any power to change.
Right. And the theory of devolution, and I'm not, super well versed on it, but, essentially when the election was stolen, Trump didn't want to just hand over power, of course. And so he put the PEDs in place, and he devolved the power of the presidency to the military. So, certain members of the military had the powers of the presidency. Could have been, maybe the Praetorians.
Yeah.
So I think that's a interesting, nickname that they chose.
For sure.
And, here's another kind of devolution hit. So this is their magazine, and this is volume 11, issue 1. The 11s, it comes up a lot, and it says more than continuity. And, devolution is continuity of government. So that kind of stuck out to me. I don't know. Am I crazy, or does it make sense? I don't know.
I don't know. I think that, some of the stuff is hidden in plain sight, perhaps, in the way they operate.
And then there's other, just interesting articles in these magazines. And this one is for you. This is the Covfefe hit. So this is in the Byte. It was released on 4/20.
Oh, my birthday.
I believe it was your birthday. I was going to say that. And in this article, this particular article was called "Get Revenge," and it was about intercepting messages. And a little bit over my head, it was a little bit too technical, but in this article, and I kind of had to chop this up because it was a long article, but they talk about capturing the signal, and this next paragraph here is connected to this capturing the signal. It says the Tesla charge port remote we know operates at 315 megahertz.
Yeah, that's pretty funny, huh? The Tesla's charge at 315 megahertz.
So they are attempting to intercept the signal of 315. So their target is 315, capturing the signal. And then in the same article, they bring up Elon Musk, and they talk about 42 bytes. And, this is an old tweet from Elon that they had where it says 420 is 10 times better than 42. And this was posted at 110. So we got an 11 and then another 11 in the date. So I found that pretty interesting. And
I love it. I love it. So the Covfefe dig, was that something that you immediately understood, or it took you a couple times? Where were you at with the Covfefe stuff?
So it took me a while. And I think, kind of where I landed is that, like I was saying, if the military is trying to communicate this plan to certain patriots that might pick up on it, they would need a way to tie these messages together. They're using public communications all over the place, whether it's on Twitter or, in the Byte magazine, wherever it is, they're using public communications, and it's kind of just a way to tune in the signal. And that's kind of where that's my big takeaway of the Covfefe dig. So this kind of going along with the last one, this is a recent tweet from Caecius Maximus, Elon Musk, where he kind of decodes the way that we kind of decode. So he attached this image, and he put these red numbers in here, and he wrote 7 plus 12 plus 23 equals 42. 42 is the answer to the ultimate questions of life, the universe, and everything.
That's the letter to number, just straight to cipher, right? It's pretty easy actually too when they leave those crumbs that are so obvious to some. And Q left those same clues where he talked about the letters to numbers being possibly used, right?
Right. Well,
hence the number 17 too.
This one is just a date string, so it's not the letters, but yeah, you know, to me, this is kind of Elon confirming what we're doing, and you know, giving an example of how maybe, you know, XAI released this on a specific date to kind of tune into a specific frequency, if you will. You know, we have 42s, we got 315s, we got 1111s.
Oh, is there 315s in that post too?
Not in this one, but just kind of, I guess, the frequencies that we kind of tend to tune into.
Yep.
So, what do we got next here? So this is an article out of the Byte. Looks like volume 6, issue 4. And it's just an article. It's talking about an attack is deterred when perceived benefit is less than the cost of attack plus the consequences.
It's Softwar.
So, and you know, this was, I believe, Storm in the channel, or somebody in the channel brought this to my attention. But it says the advent of cyberspace has affected deterrence by upending both the cost and consequence calculations. First, the cost of resourcing cyber attacks is low. The tools necessary to engage in cyberspace are widely available on the web for download. So that's something that we talk about a lot. The Bitcoin network puts a physical cost to operating in cyberspace. And, you know, this article from, I'm not sure when this one was, I think it would have been maybe 2015 or so, just guessing based on volume 6. But, you know, it seems like they need a solution to that problem. The cost of attacking in cyberspace is low. And,
right,
you know, software kind of presents that solution.
Right, 100%. It imposes a severe physical cost on your would-be attackers. But the beautiful thing about that too is that, you know, when Bitcoin becomes the most valuable asset in the world that every sycophant, tyrannical leader will want to have, they can't just take it by force anymore. They're gonna have to negotiate with you, and that's the beautiful thing, is that it acts as this defensive weapon to be like, hey, look, bro, I don't agree with the way you're doing things. If you don't stop, I'm gonna go somewhere else with my sats. And it really flips the tables to really bring about this biblical change. I believe we're dealing with, to where we can now settle disputes, right, non-violently. And there's nothing they can do about it, right? I mean, there's the meat space, obviously, but, you know, it's a lot of manpower to round up everybody, which they don't have.
Right. And kind of a little off topic here, your conversation with Ash last week, being somebody who, I believe she said she had funds taken from her, you know, just, you know, taken from her bank account because they control the ledger. I hope Ash gets more involved in Bitcoin, because they can't do that.
Right.
You know, anything on their ledger they own. They can do whatever they want. Bitcoin is the, you know, decentralized ledger that is protected by watts, you know, physical watts. Nobody can take your property. So also, you know, I guess another point with that, I used to have the same concern as Ash of, you know, oh, only a few people have it. What about the rest of the world? And I grew up in, you know, the Midwest here, you know, basically a war-torn area where all the manufacturing moved out. Everybody, you know, is you know, there's drug addicts on the streets. The crime is through the roof. You know, the factories are shuttered. I'm actually in an old factory right now that we got about 5 businesses running it out of it now. So that's pretty cool that we revived it. But, you know, I guess the point is having 0 Bitcoin, but the world being on a Bitcoin standard is far superior to the position we're in now, where most people have, you know, only debt and they're in a fiat system where it's just going to continually get worse. So, you know, 0 Bitcoin on a Bitcoin standard is still 10 times better than where most people are at. So,
100%.
You know, that's something that kind of, it took me a while to arrive at that, because, you know, for a long time I was, and I still do, I tell everybody I know, like, hey, you should check this out. Most people don't, but so this is just another article out of the Byte magazine. And I guess what's interesting about this is in the Army, in the military, they have MOS, and I think it's military operational, I forget what the S is, but so interestingly, all the cyber, you know, MOS are coded as 17. So you got 17C is the cyber operations specialist. You know, the 17D is the capabilities development. So, you know, each kind of niche has its own code, and for whatever reason, they chose 17 for this one. So, and then of course a lot of 11s, and this 17s. Was put. Yep, 11s and 17s. I believe this was put out on the 11th or October 17th. Yeah. So, anyways.
7-11.
I'm going to pull up this Byte magazine. This is where that Get Revenge article came from. And I just kind of want to scroll through it just to kind of show, you know, some of these articles.
Post-quantum cryptography. Interesting.
Right. Yep. So that was a big one that stood out to me. So that's kind of a big topic right now is quantum, you know, breaking cryptography. I think you posted something in the channel today about that. So the government, or the same people who potentially made Bitcoin, are already thinking about this. And, you know, I guess that's kind of a little bit of a
interesting
ease of mind. We got artificial intelligence. And this is from, I believe, 2 or 3 years ago. So they're kind of ahead of the curve. You know, artificial intelligence just came out of nowhere, and now it's everywhere. So, you know, I found that interesting.
What's the date on that?
This was the same for 2023.
Oh wow, okay. And is that just available online for people to download?
Yeah, so there's a website. Let me see if I can find it real quick.
Wonder we could send people over there to start digging on some other nuggets in there.
Yeah, I'll post it in the channel. It's here it is.
So MOS is Military Occupational Specialty. And we had Fatman79 give us $5 and saying, now this is a proper dig. Great episode, fellas. Love it.
Awesome. Yeah, so here it is. It's dvidshub.net publications.
Why don't you send that or put it in the chat, and we'll have people to kind of check it out.
I can put it in the Telegram channel because that's
perfect.
The chat that I use. So done. So yeah, so you know, I don't have time to go through and read all these articles, but I've skimmed through a few of them, and a couple of them popped out at me. I do believe this is the same. Yeah, here's the Get Revenge, exploring an approach to reverse engineering, capturing the signal. This is the one I pulled up earlier. So awesome. 315 is the signal. Okay, and let me see. I think I just have a couple more. And yeah, this one is a little bit of a El Salvador shout out, I believe.
Yeah, you know, it's funny when every time, you know, Naive does the hoo-ah, right? That's an Army saying, which is kind of interesting.
So, yeah, he posted hoo-ah on October 1st, 2014 at 1:07. You know, I remember we kind of picked up on that in the channel. And then, you know, I followed the 780th. So a week later on October 7th, they also posted hoo-ah. And, I thought, okay, well, they probably always do. They're in the Army, they're in the military. So I searched their tweets. This is the first time they've ever posted that I've seen it. So, and then they posted at 4:17. El Salvador is talking about their 417 bonds.
Oh, damn. That's a crazy one.
107. I think that's just a 17 hit.
Yeah, in the October 7th. Yeah.
And then October 1st is also the military, the 780th activation date. Wow. So it's kind of a back and forth, a little shout out, both ways.
Yeah, it sounds like it, right? Because we've always said, like, dude, there's no way El Salvador just cleaned up MS-13 like in one fell swoop because they adopted Bitcoin. Like, that doesn't make any rational sense.
Right. Rounded up 60,000, hardest.
They did it all by themselves, even though MS-13 was completely infiltrated in their entire government and, institutions. It's one of the funniest things, I think, out of this entire thing.
Yeah, and I think this is the last one I have. And this is just a fun one. So, Pepe Torian is the Pepe, part of the Pepe project, and this is the proof of publication. I think that's an awesome thing that we're doing here, and I can pull up where, I minted this 2 years ago with a supply of 780. I wish I would have done it a couple blocks earlier and hit the 780,000th block, but I missed that. But 2 years later, Elon posts this very similar Pepe with just a wink face, and I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I now I see it with the helmet and everything. It's the same helmet. It's the same guy, actually. Funny enough. Wow. I didn't realize it before, but now I see exactly what you're saying. That is the exact Praetorian Guard. And you're right. Like, this is your research, right? And I thought it was super interesting. And I think there's something here, and obviously they're not going to give us a lot. They're going to give us little, crumbs of what maybe happened, but it's enough to pick up some signal, right? We're looking for anywhere signal is available. And there's definitely some signal in this dig, dude. This is really cool stuff. And that's why, I implore people to open source intel, like anything that you think is relevant to either COFEFE or to the 780th or any of these different agencies, because I think there are crumbs littered throughout multiple agencies to have this kind of network where they would communicate with each other, right? And they'd probably like a lot of nods and winks to where nobody really knows what's going on except them, but it's still funny, I think, in the sense of all this. And how much are these selling for right now? They know how.
So I tried to reset the dispenser, and I don't know. I think I might have messed something up, but I have them up for about $20-25.
Okay, cool. So yeah,
it did reset, and I cut it in half because the Bitcoin price has gone up quite a bit since I put that. So you can get it for 11,000 sats.
Nice.
Which I believe is like $12 or so. So
there is a picture of the Praetorian Guard. And yeah, dude, this was fun. This was a really cool dig. Like, I appreciate you being in the channel. I appreciate all the work the frogs do. Like, we've got a pretty cool group of frogs in the channel. And so, yeah, thanks for being a part of it, man.
I did. So we have a separate channel for this, the 780th.
That's right.
I made it public today. It was private just because I don't have time to be, kicking out bots all the time. But I did make it public. So is there a way for me to put this? I guess I can put it in the chat.
Put it in the chat. It's the Praetorians is the, is the chat name. Let's put it in here. If we go to, I'll put it in there. That's the Telegram. So when you guys see that Praetorians, that's the Telegram chat to join if you guys want to contribute to some of these, different digs. If you want to go through some of those magazines, right, and help fish out some of the signal in there. But the 315s, the 11s, the 17s, maybe they're giving us some hat tips on some of this stuff. And like, you're right. Like quantum is coming, oops, I think I removed you on accident. We can remove this. Quantum computing is coming. Like here's General Quast actually in the interview with Sean Ryan.
Now quantum sensing, quantum communication, when you start looking at and quantum computing, when you start combining those three quantum capabilities, sensing, computing, communication, and you can affordably cool it down to the levels where it can be operationalized. Now you've broken every code that ever was. I don't care how good your encryption is. They see every secret, every code, everything, from Bitcoin to, things like, the techniques of blockchain. Forget it. It's all going to change.
It's all going to change. And the 780th, I'm sure, knows all about it. I did also make a Pepe of the week for you, Luke, because we always have to have a Pepe of the week for everybody that comes on the show. Again, you guys can join the Pepe Project if you want to come see some of Luke's work. By the way, you made 3 cards now, actually?
Yeah, I've made.
So you did Proof of Burn too, right?
Yep.
Which Patrick Byrne actually retweeted. We had him on the show. We actually and then you also have a Larry Fink one.
Yep. So a lot of people don't like Larry Fink. Whenever he talks, it seems like he's talking signal to me. So
he's definitely bent the knee working for us. And so we gave you Pepe frequency because you are definitely on the frequency of Pepe. Production of this card causes all players to tune in to your universal frequency of 432 hertz and give you one rare Pepe card from their hand. What's your I guess opinion on the Pepe cards? Do you think those were also part of this operation to some degree? Do you have a game to Trump? Do you have a game to Trump? Okay.
I do. I for a while I had the second most games to Trump. That was another thing early on in your show. The games of Trump with the provable date. I had to get one, so I started my Pepe journey. I joined the Pepe Project. You sent me some Trump dancing.
It's addictive, right?
It is, and so I actually have that frequency Pepe. That was one of my favorite ones I came across, and I had to have it. I found it. So yeah, I have that. I have some games of Trump. I got a bunch of other rare Pepe.
The funny things about games of Trump, we've been talking about it for 3 years now, and it's if you had one source of absolute proof that all this was actually verifiable, wouldn't you say that's probably the most important piece of all of it?
Yeah, I think the future proofs past. I think someday in the future people are gonna realize that hey, they recorded all this. This is history.
And these freak shows in frog shirts who literally sound like maniacs were maybe right.
Maybe. We'll see. We will see.
Awesome, brother. We appreciate you. Are you coming to Vegas? You going to come check out Digital 1776?
Yeah, so I haven't booked my flight yet. I do have a ticket, but my daughter is having some health issues, so I was playing it by ear, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to book my flight hopefully tonight. It's getting pretty late, so I'll be there.
All right. I love it, man. We appreciate your time tonight. Thank you for being part of the group. And Shadalay to you, my friend. We will catch you.
This is awesome.
In Vegas, and yeah, absolutely. We'll catch you in the chats as well. And,
I know there's better diggers out there than me, so I hope some people get in on this.
Any connection people can find to Bitcoin that is legitimate, that passes the sniff test, I will bring on to go through, because I think it's an important part of this. It's not just about Bitcoin. We have a lot of Bitcoiners on here, but the fact of the matter is they are one and the same. You can't have Q without Bitcoin, and you can't have Bitcoin without Q, right? There's two fundamental proofs. And that's why I think they're so important to discuss, because, one without the other doesn't make sense,
Yeah, I think they're two parts of the same plan.
Love it, brother. All right. Well, we will catch you next time, and we will see you in the chats, Mr. Luke. And we'll see you in Vegas. All right, guys. Hope you guys liked that. Let's talk about River. You know we love the people at River. I need to find my talking points. Did you know that Bitcoin is now a top 5 global asset? Now is the time to buy, and River's here to help. Prepare to maximize your Bitcoin returns without the emotion. Introducing River AI, a Bitcoin advisor at your fingertips. Stop trying to time the market. Do it with confidence. At River, you get 0 fee reoccurring buys, 3.8% interest on cash, Bitcoin interest on cash, US-based support, business accounts, and so much more. Don't forget about Bitcoin interest on cash, which can accelerate your business growth tool. Businesses can now earn 3.8% interest on cash paid in Bitcoin. That's more money to fuel your next big move. Get started at badlandsmedia.tv/river. Move your cash to River today and start earning a real interest rate with Bitcoin. The future is now. That's badlandsmedia.tv/river. Love it. Love the guys at River. Guys at River will be also in Vegas. And so let's continue the show, shall we? Let's get back to my deal here and let's talk about, what do we got next? We do have, by the way, Luke posted an image and the 780th actually responded to Luke. We forgot to bring that up. So they did actually respond and talk about some other thing that the graphic design dates back to May 5th, 2016, which was kind of interesting that they responded. So, hey guys, 780th, give us a shout out if if you're around. But no, let's talk about the recent clown news, circus news. River just came out with this awesome little diagrams of America is now the global Bitcoin superpower, right? 40% of American ownership of total supply, 40%, right? Ownership share by public firms, 94.8%. That's not a good sign, but look, we got a 15-year head start and you can't complain. This is not going to slow down. Known government holdings, the United States at 198,000, United Kingdom at 61,000, China at 15,000. I think Ukraine actually has more Bitcoin than China, but I think China I've seen has like 190,000 Bitcoin. So the hash war is heating up and, we are going to kind of fish this out. And so some of the questions in the chat, yeah, Luke is awesome. Thank you, Petty429, for gifting a subscription to Badlands Media. What else? Yes, Deadwood. I think I'm going to Deadwood. I think I'll be there. So I think I'll be there. Trump, the one big, beautiful bill has passed the House of Representatives, the most significant piece of legislation. The bill includes massive tax cuts, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, tax deductions when you purchase American-made vehicles, blah, 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 blah. How about 0.0, Trump? I know you're trying to softly wean the public off the government teat, but some of us need to move this along a little quicker, man. We're tired of, paying for war crimes. We're tired of paying for Fauci's salary. We're tired of paying for, biolabs in Ukraine. And so when the government, when the people wake up and they've realized that they actually have the power and the powers through non-compliance, maybe we start to really make some effective change. But the Doge kind of fell off. Like, where's the Doge people at? I haven't heard anything from Doge in a while. This is funny. Dylan LeClaire, Adam Beck, David Bailey, Metaplanet's killing it with their treasury strategy of Bitcoin. Adam Beck's like, do it again, 2x bigger. And then David Bailey, 10x bigger. And so it's funny because you've got these like KFAB going on with like the Bitcoin guys, and you've got Jack Mallers saying, no, I'm going to have more Bitcoin than you, Sailor. And then you've got, the Metaplanet goes, no, we're going to get more Bitcoin. No, we're going to get more Bitcoin. And so it's like this funny like escalation of like game theory, because obviously there's not a unlimited amount of Bitcoin. And so what that's going to do is raise the price for everybody. So everybody's actually working together, even though they think they're going to get more Bitcoin than one another. But it doesn't matter, because in the end, like, everybody wins. Everybody wins, right? Beautiful thing. My barber just offered me a $1 haircut if I tipped him $50. So this is the no tax on tips thing, right? When are people going to figure it out? Oh, well, if tips aren't like taxed, then why should I at my other job get taxed? It's the same amount of energy and effort. What's the deal, right? Like, are people going to figure that out? Like, going to your 9-to-5 job is the same as getting tips for something else. Like, it's the same amount of energy that you're using. And so, Vaga, like, why should anybody pay the tax? Like, why is it specialty just for people that have tips? Makes no sense. Make everything a tip. Tell your HR you only want to be paid in tips. Anyways, Bitcoin just passed Amazon, by the way. Apple is next. I think at around 150,000 per Bitcoin, we pass Apple, which is going to happen. Stake and Shake. Bitcoin has been launched. Everyone's paying with Bitcoin Lightning at Stake and Shake. The revolution is underway. Stake Toshi. Please go support Stake and Shake. Use your Lightning sats. Download the Strike app. It's a great experience. Lightning has been amazing. And Lightning, like, there's a lot of haters on Lightning. Say, it doesn't work. It doesn't do this, doesn't that. Well, look, it works for me every time I've tried to use it. Zaps. Nostr just passed 5 million zaps sent between users. That's about 10 days worth of block space conserved by Lightning network for, like, dude, that's a long time. Like, that's amazing that Lightning's able to do that, right? Anyways, the Australian court has ruled that Bitcoin is officially money, not a taxable asset, up to $640 million in capital gains tax refunds. This could change everything. So Australia finally did something right for once. I mean, that's pretty cool to see, but it's going to take more than that, I think. The citizens are going to have to stop funding the fraud, waste, and abuse. The citizens are going to have to stop funding the tyrants that keep them enslaved. And so Forbes, ticking time bomb, 40 trillion, big print, Fed fears spark wild Bitcoin price predictions. Yeah, there's no way out of this, guys. They're going to have to print a lot of money. Howard Lutnick, Scott Bessent, all of them are on board saying, we are not going to let this fail. We're going to provide a stable economy and a stable economic environment. And that means just they're gonna print the money, guys. They're gonna print the money. We know Bitcoin follows M2 money supply, and the continuation of that will happen, and the number will continually go up. Guys, we're at $111,000 per one Bitcoin, and nobody even cares. It's the funniest thing. Nobody even cares. It's like, oh, yeah, who cares? I want face melting, burning of flesh at $1 million per coin. That's what we need. We need, like, people to wake up out of their somber and just completely, like, rip their faces off with, like, butthurtness, right? Like, just complete savagery on what's happening and why they're missing it. Because I don't know how much more signal this administration can give some of you guys. I don't know how much more Trump can do by making it part of a strategic stockpile and selling the shit coins as part of that stockpile. But the EO is specifically that. Cynthia Lummis, right, is rug pulling shitcoiners. It's so obvious. And by the way, I think Trump's having his gala dinner tonight. Funny enough, Trump is having his shitcoin dinner. We'll get into that. Conor McGregor, first man to win 2 belts in the cage, first fighter to walk in as president, the first president to put Bitcoin on Europe's balance sheet. Ireland leads, Europe watches. What a savage, you know. It wasn't that long ago, Conor McGregor was at the White House talking to Trump. Wonder if Trump got in his ear and said, hey, look, man, this is the way forward. Ireland can finally free itself from the tyranny of British rule once and for all by being economically sovereign and not tied to those douchebags. Because, I mean, let's be honest, Britain is a total dumpster fire right now. Sailor Gold Rush, the digital gold rush ends January 7th, 2035. Get your Bitcoin before there's no Bitcoin left for you. January 7th, that's a 17, 2035. That's kind of a Kofefi hit, kind of. Anyways, I thought it was an interesting date. January 7th, 2035. Yeah, 17, 2035. Got it, Sailor. Core strategy is stacking like a madman strategy has acquired over 7,390 Bitcoins. And of course, MicroStrategy is winning the triple financial crown. First place this quarter, first place this year, first place since adopting the Bitcoin standard. Our strategy works because it's built on Bitcoin and it's absolutely destroying. And so here's the play with MicroStrategy, folks. If you are a younger individual, right, MicroStrategy is going to give you bigger growth. It's like a 1.5 to 2x leverage on Bitcoin. And so, try to get to 1 Bitcoin, obviously, but MicroStrategy will provide aggressive growth for those that are lagging behind. And so take that in consideration. MicroStrategy is a great also solution for this. And I hate like the Bitcoiners like, oh, you don't have Bitcoin on cold storage. You're, look, everything helps, guys. Right. And I'm taking a more kind of domesticated approach on some of this stuff because like we didn't have the doom and gloom. We didn't have the stolen election like we thought was going to happen. And so we see like kind of a more smooth transition into this new digital age. Going into Vegas, we secured the skull. Remember the skull that Greenpeace made and said Bitcoin used all this energy that was like boiling the oceans? Somehow we got that skull. Talk about it like an artifact of war, a trophy of war. How cool is that, right? So cool. Strange signal. The Covfefe signal has been pumping like usual. Apple, Tesla, and NVIDIA shares to trade as digital tokens on crypto exchange Kraken. Yep. Tokens are coming. Tokenization is coming. I've been talking about this for years. We love the tokens. We love the rare Pepes. We think it's all coming to Bitcoin, of course. But all these systems on the interim is just basically a research grant for when it happens on Bitcoin. So do all the testing, right? Make all the mistakes. And then when they're all cleaned up, we'll come in and just take it over and we'll do it on Bitcoin. How about that? Emperor Caecus Maximus is back. Guys, I don't know how much more frog lore we can get into, but Elon keeps pumping Pepe, Kek, all of this different, right, ancient Egyptian frog lore. That's why we have the frogs in the background. And every time he goes off on a tangent and changes it, he always comes back to Kek and Pepe. Kek, Pepe, Pepe, Kek. Can you pick up the signal? Because, like, it's there, right? Yeah. Elon, we've got his stock going at 48.35%. And it's like the ticker's ending at really just 351. And he says Kek. I don't know how much more signal you're going to find, but he's telling you about the frogs in a not so obvious way. And so maybe pick up the signal of actually learning about rare Pepes. Okay. Caecus Maximus again. Parasitism. Parasitism, the opposite of imperialism, invading a formerly imperialist country, not to take it over, but to take advantage of its successful society and feed off of its resources for survival. Do you understand what a parasite is? Do you understand that the scientist that created ivermectin was also named Satoshi? Ivermectin is known for what? Killing parasites. I don't know how much more obvious that one could be, but that is an obvious attempt to link parasites to central bankers, to where you now have Satoshi come in, but probably just a coincidence, G. He was just talking about parasites. Okay. Yeah, sure, buddy. What do we have now? In your own interpretation, visualize the internet in a single image. And of course, Grok created a Pepe, a amazing Pepe. Probably the coolest, one of the coolest Pepes I've ever seen. And so Grok knows about Pepe. We do have a Kanye in his new hit song with a 315 hit, right? 315 hit in the actual image size for his song that's going viral and getting banned everywhere for some reason. Putin and Trump. We're talking at 1700 Moscow time. Agenda, Ukraine, ceasefire and trade wars. Trump plans follow up with Zelensky and NATO bosses 17. I don't know. There's like a 1717 in there. I don't know why. Interesting. But we have always said that, Q, the number 17, has been a cooperation, even though it may not look like that. The KFAB, right? The fake fighting between Trump, Putin, China, all that stuff, that they're maybe working together to take out these psychopaths. And then you've got Trump rugging the Q-tards again. There we go, talking about military tribunals, tweeting Q plus. In 1776, we're taking back our great country. Q plus. I saw 1776. Like the Q plus is just like the icing on the cake, obviously. Oh, look, we're almost at 111111. Oh, come on, bless us, Satoshi, with the magical number during the show. Come on, give it to us. Anyways, I think it's funny because the Q-tards are going crazy over these decodes, and they're just like not really acting on it. They're like, oh yeah, look, Bitcoin went up. Yay, more fiat. Like they don't understand the entire operation is about a digital counterinsurgency to remove the root cause of the issue. All the problems society has, right? All the problems society has is from corrupted energy and humans sharing that corrupted energy and then incentivizing humans to be even more corrupt. And then the people that are closest to the corruptness get even more corrupt. And so it's like this never-ending cycle of corruptness because the money and the energy is just totally terrible, evil, satanic energy. And it's being mixed upon the people. And now you get diseases and all this different shit that's happening to our kids. And it's just out of control. We're at the breaking point. Enough is enough. It's time to end the endless. It's time for you to take your power back. And it's time for us to take back power, take back control. And that's what Trump said he was going to do when he first was inaugurated. He was going to give power back to the people. Now, he wasn't going to hand it to you on a silver platter. He was going to make you work for it. And the people that have had enough have got to the end of the rabbit hole. They've got here. They've got to the Bitcoin essence. And that is what this entire plan was all about. Come fight me. Come on, shitcoiners. Let's see what you got. What else we got? Oh, rug pulls. Actually, we had a couple. Do we have a couple? We have a couple videos. We'll just play those at the end. We'll go right into the rug pulls. Why not? The COVID rug. Yes, the CDC and the FDA officials were all aware of the risk of myocarditis following mRNA injections and took steps to downplay them. Scathing Senate report says. You know, how can sapiens impose severe physical costs against these attacks in the future without causing bloodshed? How can you, as a human, protect yourself from attacks coming from all types of institutions and NGOs and all these different people? Because in essence, your energy, your taxes, is literally paying the people that are attacking you. So you're taking your energy and you're handing it over to people that are profiting and attacking you off your death, like off you getting sick. They profit. There's only one way, folks. There's only one way for you to actually protect your energy, and that is for you to project power and to save your energy in a system that they can't fuck with. All right? Thank God for Bitcoin. Thank God for Satoshi. Roaring Kitty back in the news because he unfollowed Ryan Cohen. By the way, this GameStop stuff is super interesting because they announced they were going to be buying Bitcoin on their balance sheet. And usually when a company does that, they like get all excited and they're tweeting about it. There hasn't been one word ever since all that happened. They got approval to buy Bitcoin. There hasn't been one word. Now, I think that eventually they're going to have to report it if they have done it. But this just goes into the into the mode of game theory of like, dude, GameStop is a huge piece of this puzzle. The hedge funds, all these other people not knowing about GameStop's investment. Like imagine if they bought it at like in the 80s and now we're at 111 and nobody knows until they report their earnings. How many hedge funds are going to get wrecked shorting it, naked shorting it, right? It's interesting, but GameStop is definitely a huge part of this entire plan, and it's fun to watch play out. This is pretty funny. Digital Swolger. I'm old enough to remember when we, the media, the retards, kicked out G Money Pepe for clowning them on Bitcoin. Turns out he was right all along, and not one of them has the spine to admit it. That's why they lost all credibility, including the glowing Q-tards they still attempt to prop up. Just saying, just saying. What's that saying?
G-Money is right.
Yeah, General Quast, I think you have something to say.
G-Money is right.
Yeah, still no apologies from the Q-tards at We the Media, but hey, they can have fun staying poor, and we'll just continue living out our best lives, right? Something's going on in Japan. Second day in a row, Japan's bond market is bidless with both 30 and 40-year JGB yields at records highs. Meanwhile, as the world's second biggest bond market is imploding, the Bank of Japan is pretending nothing is happening. It's also happening in America. The Fed is buying back its own worthless debt because we're not getting enough bids. Oh, we've got this idiot, Scott Pressler. This guy, by the way, what is wrong with this guy? He's a complete retard. The highest price of Bitcoin ever was 109,026. Today, Bitcoin is at 105,489. To our beautiful Bitcoiners, the future looks bright. I encourage each of you to register to vote. Hey, Scott, voting is fake and gay just like you. And nobody believes you registered all those people. You're a fake ass Con Inc. influencer. And yeah, we don't like you fake and gay people. So stop being fake and gay. Guys, humanity is like, we have a time, like there's a time on this planet to where the sun is literally expanding, right? And with the expansion of the sun, it means it's going to get a lot hotter here, not through climate change, not through the bullshit of the carbon dioxide, all the bullshit that they try, the woke media retards try to feed you. This is literally like the sun expanding, right? And Earth has about 10% of, 10% of its life left before we can like sustain life, before we have to move to another planet. This isn't science fiction. Like this is literally like Elon Musk and everything talking about this stuff. And so it's interesting because so many people are like, oh, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to be around in 500 million years. But like, what if it's sooner than that? Like, what if we need to get our shit together like a lot quicker? What if like we need to start working together like a lot faster and quicker? And so, start to think about that. And I go watch the 3-body problem, by the way. General Quast talked about it in his interview with Sean Ryan, but go watch 3-body problem. The first season is on Netflix, and I watched it and it's excellent. I got to get the books though. General Quast told me to get the books. This is funny. They filed a class action lawsuit against MicroStrategy. Michael Saylor is out there every single day talking about Bitcoin, and these people filed a lawsuit alleging Strategy misrepresented risks tied to its Bitcoin investment strategy. It's kind of funny. So talk about a rug pull. That one's going to end up pretty bad for those folks. Expose them all. It's all good. Laura Loomer, talk about another Con Inc. clown talking about, ghost of, the ghost nailed this. Laura Loomer's calling for the abolishment of the First Amendment the morning after the attack, supporting the allegation that it was a false flag designed to harm American people. Of course it was a false flag attack. They got the guy on camera screaming free Palestine, right? Who benefits the most? Always ask yourself that question. And so we know the Zionist media and regime will do whatever it takes to protect the image of Israel, because the image of Israel right now is not too good. Okay. Benjamin Netanyahu is a psychopath war criminal, and he will be brought to justice at some point. Oh, here we go. Luke Dash Jr. dooming. Does Bitcoin have a chance of failing or succeeding? Less than 10% chance of succeeding if we proactively fix the spam problem. OTOH if core goes full retard as proposed. Probably dangerously close to 0%. Luke Dash, sell all your Bitcoin, bro. Go in on maybe XRP or maybe Ethereum, because you've left the station. You are on another planet, my friend. So good luck with that. Tonight is the gala dinner for Trump's 11/11 top holders, and it's on Bitcoin Pizza Day. He's having a dinner for his top shitcoin holders on Bitcoin Pizza Day. So Trump, we hope you rugged the hell out of the God King loving morons that bought your shitcoin, and we hope you fed them like really bad pizza. I think Trump's trolling these people, actually. I think Trump is trolling the people that showed up to this thing because he knows they're degenerate shitcoiners, at least most of them. But look, they're helping the ecosystem, they're helping crypto, fine, right? Whatever, I get it. But he's also trolling them at the same time, which is pretty freaking epic. Love the Trump troll. This is one of my favorite rugs of the week. Brad Garlinghouse had a meeting with Senator Lummis, okay, the chair of the Digital Asset Subcommittee. This is a lady Trump appointed, okay? Trump appointed this lady. She canceled the meeting with retard Brad and won't reschedule the meeting. I love it. It's so great. But you've got magaloids like Brie Teresi talking about 2021 Senator Lummis broke the law by failing to disclose a 6-figure Bitcoin buy. Now she's writing crypto policy. The government doesn't follow the rules. Brie, why don't you just go get an OnlyFans and give up the MAGA like crypto influencer thing? Because you're terrible at it. And so if you're triggered by Trump's maximalism, maybe you should do some more research on understanding the shit coins you own, like XRP. That's literally a death sentence for you and your entire family at some point. The end won't be for everybody. The end will not be for everybody. Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The end is here. What if you threw a party and no one showed up? That's what happened yesterday. The Fed held an auction for U.S. bonds and no one showed up. So the Fed quietly bought $50 billion of its own fake money with fake money. The party is over. Hyperinflation is here. Millions, young and old, to be wiped out financially. Good news. Well, I don't think gold is going to 25,000. I think there's no way in hell it's going that high. But if it does, whatever. If gold goes to 25,000, Bitcoin will be at like 10 million. That's the thing. And so the big print title of Larry Lepard's latest book is on. Go check it out. And, you know, at the end of the day, guys, we're just frogs trying to have a good time. But I'm really digging the Adam Livingston stuff. You know, and this is what it's all about. You know, while the Q-tards are out there arguing about arrests, arguing about Epstein Island, arguing about the goal, like whatever rug pull that requires you to hand over your power for someone else to go do, probably not going to happen. But meanwhile, your cousin just took out a $9,000 personal loan at 26% APR to pay off his $8,300 Target credit card. Your aunt is selling crochet nipples on Etsy to pay for her insulin. Your neighbor streams Fortnite from a gas station bathroom and explains why he can't afford deodorant, but can afford 6 $300 car payments. You're not middle class. You're collateral. Your government is a cartel. Your bank is a dealer. And the product? Synthetic time. They're selling your future misery at a discount. Bitcoin is your exit, bro. There's no other way out of this, you guys. Like the vote hard people, I'm sorry. Like, look, Trump got into office, by the way, which was also like rigged, right? Like, obviously, if they let Joe Biden win with 81 million votes, right? Somehow they let Trump win the next one, right? They had to like create this whole, which was fine, right? The whole thing planned out great. But like at some point, people got to wake up. You got to have responsibility for your own energy. You got to have responsibility for your own actions. And so please buy a little bit of Bitcoin. Understand what's going on. We're here to help. We'll see you in Vegas. Oh, wait, Jamie Dimon got a rug pull too. Hold on. Got to play Jamie Dimon agreeing to actually support Bitcoin now.
Meaning Bitcoin, right? Would you offer that as a payment vehicle?
I personally, when I look at the Bitcoin universe, the leverage in the system, the misuse of the system, the AML, the BSA, the KYC, the sex trafficking, the terrorism, I am not a fan of it. We are going to allow you to buy it, and we're not going to custody it. We're going to put it on statements for clients. So, you know, I don't think you should smoke, but I defend your right to smoke. I defend your right to buy Bitcoin. Go at it.
I think Jamie's smoking. He's on fire. And then you got this shitcoin retard, Dave Portnoy, Zionist moron.
I remember I was trying to buy an apartment in Miami, and I got outbid by Crypto Bro. And I'm just like, that bastard. Yeah, he just bought, you know, he heard about Bitcoin when it was, I don't know, $8, $7. It's up on 100. I've slaved for 20 years, and he just outbid. So yes, there's 100% of FOMO on everything. I think that's the meme coin. That's general. I mean, I don't know, Bitcoin. I don't know if there's as much FOMO now. It's so established, but like that's why I'm in XRP. Like that it's FOMO. It's not like I have some grand belief in it, but it's what, $2, 40 cents or something like that. It's like, what if that's the next Bitcoin? So FOMO, I think, plays a huge part.
Of course, right? The Zionist media is propping up these fake and gay influencers to hopefully have you actually hand over your power to them and create your own digital prison. We're not going to do that because Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin, and we will continue to move on. We will continue to pump signal, and we will see you guys in Vegas. And I'm not sure if I'm going to be back here next week in time or not. Might have a week off. Other than that, check us out. We'll post the links, and we will see you then. Shadalay, shadalay.
Did you know that the father of communism, Karl Marx, was Jewish? His maternal grandfather was a Dutch rabbi, while his paternal line had supplied Trier's rabbis since 1723. A Politburo is the highest governing body in a communist government. The first Politburo was in Soviet Russia, and it consisted of 7 members. Leon Trotsky, born Lev Bronstein, was the 5th child of a wealthy Jewish landowner. Grigory Sokolnikov was the son of a Jewish doctor. Lev Kamenev was born Lev Rosenfield. He was the son of a Jewish railway worker. Grigory Zinoviev was the son of Jewish dairy farmers. According to the Jewish News of Northern California, Stalin was actually married to a Jewish woman. Lenin was 1/4 Jewish. Andrei Bovnov, who is allegedly a Gentile, was born into a local Russian merchant's family. Winston Churchill once said, "There is no need to exaggerate the part played in the creation of Bolshevism and the actual bringing about of the Russian Revolution by these international and for the most part atheistical Jews." According to the American Hebrew in 1920, the Bolshevik Revolution was largely the product of Jewish thinking, Jewish discontent, and Jewish effort to reconstruct. And it's important to note here that Jews were only about 3 to 4% of the Russian population at the time. And in fact, Russia became the first country to criminalize anti-Semitism. Another notable figure of the first Soviet government was Yakov Sverdlov, who is considered to be the first head of state of the Soviet Union, and yes, he was Jewish. All this is to say is that most of us know that communism is the most brutal governing structure in the world, killing 20 million plus people in the Soviet Union, mostly being white Russian Christians, and 65 million people in China. So when the next person asks you, where does communism come from, show them this video.
We're living in a Zionist matrix in this country. They control the media. They control the social media. They control major portions of the U.S. government, and our country has been taken over. What we need in this country is a good old-fashioned American revolution to break the back of the Zionists. That's what we need in this country. You want America to be free? Break the back of the Zionist grip on this country and return America to Christ. The Zionists are anti-Christ. When are you going to wake up, America, and realize you're in bed with the devil?
You know what people with IQ 200 do in this world? They come up with 100 reasons to not buy Bitcoin. They come up with, they can write books, everything that can go wrong. Well, I can hypothetically imagine that this might be a problem 10 years down the road in that circumstance, and so that's why I will not do it. People lacking courage apply their brilliance to apologize for why they're not going to take the risk. And so this is not about being smart. This is actually about having some courage. Success comes from a willingness to acknowledge reality.
Thank you so much for joining us, and don't forget to hit the thumbs up on this video. And a special thank you to all of our advertising partners. Please remember to shift your dollars to support those businesses that support Badlands Media.
Shadilay, my friends.
because you're living an illusion. I can't wait till it hits you. Recollection, your misconception. Obsessed, you say the green is success. Well, material gain causes serious stress. More love, because you're living in illusion. Wake up now, yes, you're living in confusion. You're not a scholar, you're a waste of a teacher. Preach the dollars, you're a waste of a preacher. Love, come on, that's what we need. More love, that's what we need to succeed. Not dollars, not what we need. Let's give them love so the youth can achieve. More love, come on, that's what we need. More love, that's what we need to succeed. Not dollars, not what we need. Let's give them love so the youth can achieve now. Yep, you gotta see clearer. Clear on up, stay up and stay clearer. Go back to basics, look in the mirror. You're in a dream, wake up and now gear up. Come on, love, continually loving, that's realer. Make up your mind and emerge as a leader. Now it connects many, many y'all feed off. Rise up above, cause the youth stay feed off. Love, come on, that's what we need. More love, that's what we need to succeed. Not dollars, not what we need. Let's give them love so the youth can achieve. More love, come on, that's what we need. More love, that's what we need to succeed. Not dollars, not what we need. Let's give them love so the youth can achieve now. You gotta see clearer. Yep, you gotta see clearer. More love, come on, that's what we need. More love, that's what we need to succeed. Not dollars, not what we need. Let's give them love so the youth can achieve now.